Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're gonna have some fun with my Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. Again, John, the rectifier again? Well, yes, I love it and I know for a fact that you love it too. What we're gonna do is we're gonna compare 4 different York Audio cab sounds with the rectifier, just to see how they all sound with this amplifier. 3 of them will be different Mesa cabinets loaded with V30s, and I've also included a ZILA 2x12 cabinet also with a V30, just for a different reference. And 4 is always better than 3, of course. Many of you have already embraced the modern technology of IRs or impulse responses, but in case you're still curious about the accuracy of IRs versus the real thing, I invite you to check out the SoundCloud clips that I've posted in the description below, and those were made by my friend Justin. And those are pretty revealing, so definitely check those out. And rest assured that this comparison will give you a very accurate idea of how these cabinets compare in the IR world and also the real cabinet world. So the York Audio cabinets that we're going to try out with my rectifier today are the MES212 V30, which is based on a 2x12 Mesa rectifier cabinet loaded with V30s. And we're also going to check out the MES412 OS cabinet, which is based on a 4x12 Mesa Boogie rectifier oversized cabinet, also loaded with V30s. And we're also going to check out the MES412 Trad, which is based on a 4x12 Mesa Boogie traditional cabinet, also loaded with V30s. And finally, we're going to check out the ZILA 212 V30 cabinet, which is based on a 2x12 ZILA cabinet, also loaded with V30s. So all the cabinets in this video will be loaded with V30s, but keep in mind that no specimen of V30s sounds exactly the same. In fact, there are quite a lot of variations, so the V30 world is quite big. Of course, cab sound and cab construction also play a big part in the sound of a cabinet, so this will be very interesting indeed. I use all these cabinets for various purposes with my music and my amps, but it will be interesting to see how they all sound with my good old rectifier. So let's go ahead and find out, shall we? The rectifier is on the red channel on modern mode, of course, which is my favorite mode, and it's being fed into my Red 7 amp central reactive load and then into the IRs. No post-processing will be applied on the guitars, aside from a little low cut at around 80 Hz. The guitar that I'm using is my ESP LTD Phoenix Arctic Metal with the EMG pickup in it, an awesome sounding guitar. So first, let's check out the rectifier with the MES212 V30 cabinet. Here we go. Cool, that sounded great. Typical Mesa Boogie with a nice low-end chunk. Now let's go ahead and check out the MES412 OS cabinet. Here we go. Wow, that one also sounded great. I really enjoyed that tone. In comparison to the first cabinet, it did have a more pronounced mid-range sort of honk or roar to it, which I really enjoyed. It really works well together with this amplifier, which is kind of scooped, obviously. It really has that typical Mesa Boogie 4x12 oversized sound. Very nice. Now let's move on to the MES 412 Trad cabinet. Here we go. Very nice. It's interesting how this cabinet sounds a little bit more traditional indeed. It's kind of like a sort of modern take on a Marshall cabinet with a more open top end. I also really enjoyed that cabinet. And that's the cab that a lot of famous guitarists use, like John Petrucci and Metallica. And now finally, let's check out a little bit of a different flavor with the ZILA 212 V30 cabinet. Here we go. Nice! That one definitely offered a different flavor and it definitely sounded unique in the bunch, despite it also being a V30 loaded cabinet. Very cool. Now let's check out an A-B back-to-back comparison of all the cabinets side by side. Here we go. Great. And now that same thing, but this time with the guitars isolated. Here we go. Interesting, right? I personally really enjoyed the sound of all the cabinets in conjunction with my dual rectifier. I think they all work really well with this amplifier. There's just something about that amp and those cabinets that really works well, which makes a lot of sense, obviously, since we used Mesa cabinets for the most part. The MES212 has a nice, chunky and big low end with a sort of slightly scooped mid-range. So despite it being a 2x12 cabinet, it sounds surprisingly huge. The MES412 OS cabinet had a more pronounced mid-range, so slightly more honky and a bit more modern sounding. And that's just one of those modern cabinets that almost always works well with any amplifier, basically. The MES412 Trad also had that typical Mesa flavor, but with a more traditional tone and a bit more of an open top end. So that's a great cabinet actually to pair up with something like a Marshall. The ZILA 212 V30 also added a very interesting flavor to the bunch. Definitely different than that Mesa Boogie sound. A sort of wide and fat mid-range with more resonance in the low mids, I think. It sounded pretty huge in the mix though, so I thought it also sounded great. Let me know in the comments down below which one or which ones were your favorites and why. That's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe down below, as that really helps the channel out. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Cheers!